Good evening. I'd like to call the Cumberland School Committee meeting to order at 7:42 and ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Pleasure of the committee. Motion by Mrs. Teal, second by Mr. Salvatore. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0 with all members present. Next item on the agenda is student government report, student activities. Good evening.
Ooh, testing, thank you. Hi, I'm Abram Brown. I'm the vice president of the sophomore class. All right, so for past events, we had back to school night on September 24th, where teachers invited parents into class and went over a brief overview of the curriculum and their expectations this year. The first student government meeting on September 22nd. This meeting was very successful since we went over Spirit Week, and we had many people come to help plan Spirit Week, Turkey Basket, and our blood drive, which we just had this past week. Grad Night 2017, deposits were due by Thursday, October 13th, and we now have approximately 28 students signed up. Spirit Week, Tuesday, October 11th to Saturday, October 15th. On Monday, we had Columbus Day. Tuesday, we had Hawaiian Day and Powder Puff, which about 250 to 300 students attended. Wednesday, we had Twin Day and Lip Sync, which also 250 to 300 students attended. Thursday, Class Color Day and Class Clash, which about 650 people attended, which is always our biggest event and showcases each class dressed spirited through with their friendly competition. And Friday, we had the homecoming football game, and Saturday night, we had the homecoming dance, which sold out with 450 people attending. The second student government meeting on October 18th, we had and discussed and prepared for the blood drive, which took place October 25th, and for our turkey basket, which began on November 2nd and ends on November 20th. Each advisory is awarded a certain amount of points for specified things that they donate into their turkey basket, and this incentive makes donation for Turkey Basket a fun experience and encourages many students and faculty members to donate to people in need. And now to Teresa with current and future events.
Hi, my name is Teresa Novsara, and I'm the secretary for the senior class. We had a blood drive on Tuesday, on October 25th, and we had a lot of people come and donate their blood. We had a goal this year of 400 points of blood, and we should be notified of how many points of blood were donated sometime next week. And in advisory on Monday, we started passing out turkey baskets to all the advisories. And on the piece of paper in all the baskets, we have definitely written down what they can donate and how many points go along with each thing. So like a turkey could be like 20 points, and a canned good could be 10 points. And the advisory with the most points gets a breakfast during advisory. And we plan on making at least 100 baskets for families in Cumberland this year. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Miss Nocera. Come back up to the microphone. I want to say that I enjoyed the blood drive. I came for a business advisory meeting on the wrong day, and I got talked into giving blood on an empty stomach. I gave blood, and I almost passed out, and they kept me here for 40 minutes. Yeah. Ms. Nocera, so how come this is the first time that we're seeing you at a school committee meeting? So we should be done by 9 o'clock tonight, Ms. Nocera. So I know her mom and dad very well, so I'm just haggling her. Thank you for the update.
Thank you. Did they make you drink some juice?
Madam Chair, juice, pretzels, crackers, pizza, ice pack in my back of my head, front of my head, arm motions. Oh yeah, I was an hour and a half late for a meeting. It was, hey, but I gave my pound of blood.
Good. Yeah, it was a pint, not a pound. You didn't read the directions.
And Madam Chair, I got lectured by the supervising nurse here on how important it is to have a breakfast before you get blood.
Did you tell her you used to make about 100 breakfasts a day for people? All right, moving on. We have the consent agenda, approval of minutes, regular meeting 10:13, and executive session from 10:13. Pleasure of the committee on the consent agenda. Thank you, Mrs. Teal. Motion by Mrs. Teal.
Second.
Second by Mr. Denon. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? Yes. All right, so we have 6-0 and 1 abstention by Mr. Fiorello. Moving on, next item is report out of executive session meeting from 10:27. There were no votes taken this evening, and I need a vote to seal the minutes of the executive session. Oh, Mrs. Teal's on the ball today. Motion by Mrs. Teal. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Fiorello. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is superintendent's report. Mr. Mitchell.
Madam Chair, could you join me down below, please? Good evening, everyone. I apologize again, school committee members, for having my back to you. Well, everybody, this is Cindy Lancaster. Cindy is a school counselor at McCourt Middle School, and the reason that we're here this evening is to recognize her and acknowledge and celebrate her being designated as the 2016-2017 Rhode Island School Counselor of the Year. So Cindy actually received this award. She was surprised by it. I think it was on October 7th. Is that correct? October 7th. She doesn't remember the date. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lancaster. So just a few things. Just a few things that I'd like to share. This is Cindy's 5th year at McCourt Middle School and her 6th year as a counselor, having worked for 1 year at Cumberland Hill School. Her experiences include advocating for undocumented students, working on the district's new transgender policy, and forming McCourt's Gay Straight Alliance. And before becoming a counselor, Cindy was an English teacher at North Cumberland Middle School for 18 years. Cindy has worked on the Cumberland School Department's policy affecting students who identify as transgender or gender nonconforming. This school committee passed the policy in March, and Cindy has since worked on designing professional development to help teachers implement the policy, which is incredibly important. And here's what Dr. Masterson has to say about Cindy. She's a voice for all students, especially the ones that really need it. And she makes every single child feel as special as possible, to get them to feel as comfortable as possible with themselves and in the school environment. Dr. Masterson also noted that Cindy has worked to align McCourt's counseling model with the American School Counselor Association's national model for school counseling. It is for these reasons and many more who know Cindy that she was named the Rhode Island School Counselor of the Year. So, on behalf of the school committee and the students and staff of Cumberland, I want to thank you for your outstanding service to our district, and congratulations for this distinguished recognition. Congratulations.
All right, so next item, Mr. Mitchell, we have retirement recognition. Is that tonight?
I don't think we have anyone here to recognize this evening for that, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next item is reports of standing committees, payment of bills. Mr. DeModica.
Madam Chair, there were no payment of bills tonight.
My last meeting? Come on.
Sorry. Well, Mr. Pignano brought up a couple of items, but we haven't paid them yet. Fiscal did meet tonight upstairs. We got an updated business office monthly report. Mr. Pignano had some conversations with the auditors in regards to our health care from last year, and so we're able to make a couple of changes on that. Sedesco did come in tonight. The food service people were on track. We're profitable from the day one. And just for the public out there, RIDE is still accepting the food, the free and reduced lunch applications. Everyone has to apply every year, and so they are still accepting those applications. So if you haven't filled one out yet, you think you may qualify, go ahead and fill that out if you would, please. And then we did talk tonight, we did talk about progress payment over the construction that was happened over the summer, and to purchase some motorized projector screens for 3 of the schools. That was in payment of the bills for last month that Mr. Pignano had thought we had already approved it, so we have that for tonight. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none. Next item, Policy and Procedures Subcommittee update. Mr. Fiorillo.
Policy and procedures did not meet this past week. I'm certain that the new committee will be taking up many policies in the next few weeks. I did want to just say, though, as the policy chair, that I got a chance to work with Ms. Lancaster on the transgender policy, and her input was invaluable. Her insight into what students at the middle school level were dealing with really went a long way with making, I think, the committee really truly understand the importance of instituting a policy and doing it in a very thoughtful and deliberate way. So I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Lancaster.
All right. Next item, Achievement and Communication Subcommittee update. Mrs. Teal.
Achievement did not meet this past week.
Next item, comments from the public. Anyone? Hi, Mr. Shaw. Good evening.
Good evening. I just wanted to personally come here tonight. Usually I'm catching this on YouTube, my crazy life at home. But being it's the last meeting of this standing committee for most of you members, I just, as a parent, wanted to thank you for what you do, stepping up to the plate, putting yourself up there as voices for our children. I started taking notice about 7.5 years ago what goes on, as I'm sure most of the parents in this town started as well. We are on the right path, and it's because of people like you that put themselves in the spotlight to be scrutinized for your opinions, but also have the right mindset to take our children forward, and for that I applaud you and wish you all good luck on your next endeavor, so thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Oh my God.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's not your name. Thank you, Ms. Copan. Very thoughtful. Good job, thank you. Very nice.
I had planned to maybe do a slideshow in true Lisa B fashion, but couldn't get it done today, so I thought I'd just come up here and say thank you to both of you for the 7 years I've been around. You've totally both been such an integral part of the whole district and how it's changed. And I'm proud to be here and proud to have watched what you all have done over the years, so thank you.
Thank you. I hope there's more flowers.
No, I'm going to be good. I actually had forgotten it was even going to be tonight, and thankfully, Mr. DeMonica reminded me that tonight was the night I would have hated to miss it. So, I was thinking about what I might say during the weekend, and I really didn't come up with anything because it's hard after all this time to try to encapsulate, into some words, my dealings with Ms. Bolio and Ms. Teal. So I join the other speakers here in thanking you, but I think that it's been my experience that people say, well, why do people get involved in politics? And that there are certainly some things that happen, and they have happened to you in the past that I thought were inappropriate and would make people think about it. But it's been my experience. It's been most people are very honorable. They have very honorable intentions and are good public servants, and certainly both of you, represent that as well. And as I was thinking too about how long it has been, and at times it seemed like it was a really, really long time, I must say, because we have been involved since I don't know, was it 04, 06? Was it? So there were some ups and downs, and like I say to people, if you're going to debate Ms. Bolio and Ms. Teal, you should definitely come prepared. You should, and that would be time preparation as well, because it's not going to be a sprint. It's going to be a distance event if you do take on that challenge. And so, but I must say that for me, I'm more attracted to politicians who are going to challenge me, who are going to make me question, my own opinions. And I gave it my best. If I won, it was few. I tried to think about how many times I may have actually been successful. It wasn't many. I think one of those 2 policies or whatever. And I don't know what's happened, Mr. Fiorello, but it wasn't even a policy meeting. None at all. I don't know. It's only been 2 years. I don't know what happened, but I do join everyone else here in thanking you for your service. Certainly wishing Ms. Bolio well in her next political endeavor. And Ms. Teal, you can never say never. So thanks.
Thank you for the remarks. Anyone else? Hearing none. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business discussion and or vote to approve 2016-17 school bus routes. Mr. Mitchell.
I believe that Mr. Neves is here to answer any questions that you might have, but I can tell you that the information that was provided to you in your drive has been updated. I can tell you that some of the issues that we were experiencing earlier in the school year appear, for the most part, with maybe a few minor exceptions, those issues have been resolved for the most part. I don't want to say that it's 100% where we need it to be, but we have ongoing communication with the bus company. Paul and I are in frequent communication, and so I think we're in a much better place. And I believe that the information that you have in front of you is pretty much where we need it to be. Is that accurate, Paul?
Yes, it is. The new runs that you have, the routes you have in front of you, have the most updated times to our ability to do. The PM runs will always have a problem dealing with traffic. There's always going to be some type of a difference. Recently, Mendon Road, Diamond Hill Road this week especially, has just been, it's been horrendous. So there definitely have been some issues with the PMs on this week for sure. But the runs that we have presented to you and have not been posted yet until they're approved are, to the best of our knowledge, right on. You might have a 5-minute, 10-minute thing on certain days, but it's not going to be the normal that it's going to be wrong.
Mr. Salvatore.
Paul, talk to me about JJM. How are we doing there?
I believe JJM has, we've made some moves with some minibuses there.
So the extra bus was added?
There was not an extra bus added, there was an extra bus added to that school, but there was no additional cost for putting that. We moved some children around, and we were lucky to make the moves and make it all work together.
Mrs. Malcolm, how is the time of arrival on those two buses? Paul, is that what it is?
There's actually 3 buses right now.
Mr. Neves, how about community school?
Community school, we've adjusted. We actually have reduced 1 bus in the PM, and there's a possibility there's going to be a reduction of a bus in the AM because of the count loads, and that's going to help move it a little bit easier there. It's really tough to get 11 buses in and out of there, but it looks like we're getting them in and out by in the PM by the 3:40 mark, which is what we were looking to do. Yeah, 3:40. Times have been going through my head sometimes, so 3:40.
So these matters are going to be continued improvement?
There's going to be a continuation, of course. We're going to be looking at those all the time.
Anyone else? Mr. Fiorello?
Oh, I had a parent contact me last week. Their child takes a special ed bus from the Bear Hill area over to JJM.
Correct.
And her complaint was that her son was on the bus for like an hour in the afternoon. Or is that been resolved because you've added a bus? Because when I looked at the schedule, it looked like there's fewer stops.
There are fewer stops on the minibuses, correct.
Okay, so that should solve that
The
problem.
afternoon, we did not add that extra minibus into the afternoon because we could not do that
Okay.
because of scheduling. I believe the bus you were speaking about was probably coming back to the yard roughly around 5 o'clock, and recently, within the last week and a half, it's been about between 4:30 and 4:40. So it definitely has been a 20-minute improvement in the afternoon part for that bus.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so what we have on the agenda this evening is discussion and/or vote to approve the 2016-17 school bus routes. Pleasure of the committee on the agenda item.
Question, Mr. Neves, did you say the Cumberland Police signed off on all these routes?
They originally signed off on the routes, and since we did not change any stops, we do not feel they had to go back to that.
I'd make a motion, we approve the bus routes.
Motion by Mr. DeMonica, second by Mr. Salvatore. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next item, new business, school committee recognition.
Madam Chair, we were hoping that we could move that item to the end of the meeting. We could probably do it, school committee comments, if you don't mind, right around that time.
I will oblige.
Thank you.
Next item, vote to approve updated school safety plan. I think we're going to table this until the next, was that a correct assessment by the committee? Or?
Madam Chair, Dr. Masterson is here. I know that there were a few questions. I don't know if anyone had a question that they wanted to ask Dr. Masterson while he's here. If not, we can certainly, table this and even invite Dr. Masterson into the next executive session where we can get into a little more detail. Whatever, is your pleasure is fine with me.
Is there a time element that you're aware of, Dr. Masterson? Like, do we need to take an action on the plan by a specific date? Grab a microphone.
It's the beginning of November. Typically, that has to be done. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head, but it's typically the beginning of November.
We could do it first meeting in November if we had to, Madam Chair.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Salvatore.
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that Mr. Wood is okay with that, only because he had mentioned the question during executive before you were there, Madam Chair, so I want to make sure. Okay. All right, thank you.
So I need a motion to table the school safety plan. Mrs. Teal, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Denon. All those in favor? Those opposed? And I did it. See, I didn't say discussion. Last time. All right, next item on the agenda, discussion and/or vote to approve resolutions. SCPR 10, 2016-14, motorized projector screens.
Madam Chair, we have a resolution, SCPR 10, 2016-14, empowering the school committee to purchase from HB Communications from Connecticut 3 motorized projector screens in the amount of $18,749. These were purchased already for McCourt Middle School, North Cumberland, and Cumberland Hill. Mr. Pignano had thought we had already run these through the finance, and it was an oversight, and these screens were already purchased and already installed at the 3 schools. I would move passage. It passed upstairs 3-0.
Mr. Demotica moves passage of the motorized projector screen resolution. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Denon, and given that Mr. Mutter's here, we never used to have resolutions, and sometimes he did lead good government, and so we have memorialized all of these activities and resolutions. Sometimes we put the cart before the horse. We're still kind of figuring that one out, but we did cross the T's and dot the I's by the end of the game. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Next item, SCPR 10, 2016-15, progress payment for summer construction projects at Joseph L. McCourt Middle School, North Cumberland Middle School, and Ashton School.
Madam Chair, this was discussed upstairs in finance. This is part of the $5 million health and safety program that the town committed to us. It's in progress payments 3 and 4 to E&E Systems of Canton, Mass. The architect, Torado Associates, has signed off on both of these items, and with this payment, we will still be withholding approximately $214,000 to hold back until everything has been done on the punch list. And so I would move passage. It passed upstairs 3-0. The amount is $474,571.85 to E&E Systems of Canton, Mass.
Mr. Demotica moves passage of SCPR 10, 2015-15. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Fiorillo and Mrs. Teal. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is discussion and/or vote to approve homeschool instruction requests for the 2016-2017 school year. Mr. Demotta.
Good evening, Madam Chair. This evening, we have one renewal request that I am recommending for approval.
Pleasure of the committee on the homeschool instruction requests. Motion by Mrs. Teal. Second by Mr. Oh my God. Thank you. Any further discussions? I called you, oh my God. That's not too bad. All those in favor? Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Not the first time? Next item on the agenda is personnel recommendations.
Good evening. So I have a few personnel recommendations for you this evening. The first are retirements. I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the retirement of Audrey Gary, Human Resource Clerk for the Cumberland School Department, effective November 14th, 2016, after 23 years of service. And Denise Queenan, grade 6 teacher at North Cumberland Middle School, effective June 30th of 2017, after 18 years of service.
Pleasure of the committee on the retirements.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion by Mr. Demotica, second by Mrs. Teal. Any further discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries.
I have one leave of absence for you. I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the unpaid leave of absence of Melina Kelly, grade 3 teacher at Garvin Memorial School, effective October 31st, 2016 through the end of the 16-17 school year.
Pleasure of the committee. Motion by Mr. Fiorillo, second by Mr. Demotica and Mrs. Teal. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0.
Lastly, I have a few appointments for you that are all budgeted. So I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the following appointments. Michael DeCesare, Custodian Nights at Cumberland High School, effective October 24th, 2016. Derek LaPointe, Custodian Nights at North Cumberland Middle School, effective November 1st of 2016. Mario Sa, Custodian Nights at BF Norton Elementary School and Cumberland Hill Elementary School, effective October 17th, 2016. And Caitlin Turcott, Speech Language Pathologist at Community School and Cumberland Hill Elementary School, effective November 7th, 2016. It'll be for the 2016-17 school year. She comes to us full-time as a step 2.
Pleasure of the committee on the appointments. Motion by Mrs. Teal. Second by Mr. Fiorello. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? And that motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, school committee comments, school liaison reports. Bye, Paul. Probably.
I'd just like to thank you, Ann, Linda, for your service, of course, to the town. Although we have not always agreed, could never deny that you've been very passionate in your desire for a better school system for our kids. And just want to say thanks.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Salvatore.
I'll have to second what Mr. Fiorillo had said. I said that as a joke. After 4 years, I do have his name down. And being a fellow Italian, yeah, that's true. Madam Chair, I mean, 10 years that you two, over 10 years, right, have committed public service to this community, to a better education, to everyone's students, everyone's child in this district, in this town, has been outstanding and great. And I'm glad that you're making a move over to town council. I think that is going to be positive. I think you'll bring a lot of good ideas and a lot of good progression that they need over there. And I'm sure Mr. Shaw is excited, hopefully, to have you on board over there. And Mrs. Teal, it's your dedication to this school committee. That first year in policy, when you and Mr. Mutter were locking horns and I didn't know what to say, was was pretty good. And then a couple years later, I said to Jeff, I know exactly what you mean. She's got very good passions for what she does. So that that goes a long way. And both of you are more than welcome anytime to call myself or probably anybody in the committee for any concerns that you may have. And look forward to working with you possibly in the future. So thank you.
When Mr. Mutter left a couple of years ago, he got newspaper clippings, and I didn't feel that was appropriate for you guys. You've worked very hard over the last 10 plus years, and it's always been about the children and nobody else. And I thought what better would be better for all of us in the school committee did this, is that we got you not just a golden apple, but we got you a crystal apple that's embossed with these school logos that you can put on your desk. Somewhere, whether it's at home or at work. And, they all have the letter C engraved into it and their names and when they ran. So we thought that would be more appropriate for you guys than just newspaper.
That's very thoughtful. Thank you very much.
That was all the members of the school committee.
It's a lovely gift. That's nice. Thank you. Oh.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just wanted to echo what others have said to say how much I appreciate and have enjoyed working with you both. And Mrs. Teal, you were helpful when I first became the esteemed clerk, the clerk of the committee. And I appreciate the help you gave because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And you helped me quite a bit. And Madam Chair, I remember 3 or 4 years ago where we were talking on Facebook or something about school funding, and we both kind of realized, like, the depth to which we were not underfunded, I think. And at one point you said you really should run for public office. And that has stuck with me, and I listened to you, unfortunately. No. But I've enjoyed working with you. I hope to keep working with you. I think we've done these deep dives into data and having to do with funding, and it's been a pleasure. So thank you very much.
Madam Chair, may I go before the two of you?
Of course.
I want to say a couple of things. I think it's important for me to just make a few comments about the committee in general, because the committee is going to change, right? So we know that many of the current sitting school committee members will be returning, but not everyone, it's going to be different. So I just want to say a couple of things about the full committee based on my experience. And when I say based on my experience, I'm not just talking about the 5 years that I've been here. I am talking about that, but I'm talking about my 23 years as an administrator in 4 districts. So Dr. Thornton and I used to have these conversations all the time because he came from a place that was challenging, to say the least. And, well, so did I. So, but here's the thing that that always stands out to me about this committee, and it is the professional way that you handle yourselves. You know, as Mark said, you know, you're all passionate people. That's why you're doing this work. You feel strongly about education, and you want to make a difference in the educational system in the town of Cumberland. And despite your passion and your individual interests, you have done your jobs in a respectful way, which I think has really set a really positive tone for all of us as administrators. So I really want to thank you for the professional way that you conduct yourselves. And because I do think that you're models, that you're modeling the way that it should be done for all of us. So thank you all for you know, the professional work that you have done here. Linda and Lisa, and I'm speaking on behalf of not only myself, but I'm speaking on behalf of all of the administrators here, but on behalf of all the students as well. There's no question that you have made a tireless commitment to improving the quality of teaching and learning in this district. Teaching and learning have been front and center in your work. And there's no question that your focus on teaching and learning have had a positive impact on the performance of our students and on our staff. You're really, it's really important for all of us to make our decisions based on data, and there's no question that that has been critically important to our meetings of the Achievement Subcommittee. So, you know, it's comforting to me to know that the important decisions that we make as a school committee and as a school system, they are data-driven decisions. And that is, I think, has a lot to do with your demanding of us to use data to, you know, have important conversations about what we can do to get better. And we are getting better. So I want to thank you both for your years of service to our students and staff. Lisa, I want to personally thank you for your support, first as an assistant superintendent, and then in my transition to the superintendency. Your experience, your guidance, and patience have been really helpful. So thank you for that. And anyone that has ever had an opportunity, and I've had many conversations with Lisa, there is no stronger advocate. I don't know that I've ever met a stronger advocate in my career for improving the quality of education in a school system. So I can't imagine, you know, anything more important than that. So thank you for your advocacy and your incredible commitment to the students and improving the quality of education in this town. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Yes, Mrs. Teal. I had planned to write something, and then this week got really crazy at work. So I think I have 4 things written down, but I did bring a PowerPoint, um, which is only pictures, and it really is kind of the what starts to tell the story. I know you guys love my PowerPoints. There's no math in it. If you can just project it, Mike, so we can see the presentation. So this is what gets you off the couch. And 14 years ago, Mrs. Teal moved to town, and 6 months later, she was at a school committee meeting when the high school was put on warning status for its accreditation. Now everybody knows how beautiful Cumberland High School is right now. That's what students were learning in. So those were the science classrooms, and the entire school looked like this. This picture, as much as I probably was very reluctant at the time because I had my own big ideas, I think was what really got people to understand the magnitude and the severity of the deplorable, heinous conditions and the neglect at Cumberland High School. And at that time, the leader of the district said, we can just go to the hardware store and buy more shower curtain rings, and it'll all be better. And that was so far from the truth, because students in this town deserve so much more than the conditions that they were in. We can go to the next one. And these are all just pictures. This was the servery in the cafeteria, so where you buy your food, every single student had to snake through this teeny tiny corridor to get their food. And so if you read the report basically was like, kids don't eat lunch because there's no time to get food. And they didn't have adequate places to sit and eat. And I think, they basically just served like cold hamburgers. We can go on to the next one. That was the art room. And it used to be the home ec room. So we know how visual kids are in art, and I am not an artist, but man, to be in that environment and expect to produce great work was going to be a major challenge, with all the ceiling tiles missing and old, ovens and things like that. And it was file cabinets. That was the art room. So what you see with the art room today, it's vibrant and alive and beautiful. That was what they were subjected to every day. So that's what gets parents off the couch when they start seeing just horrific conditions. And I can remember my 4th grader at the time saying, you're not going to make me go here, are you? And I did. But I think through the efforts of a community who stood up and said, this stinks, we're going to fix it, and we did. And at the time, you got a lot of folks patting you upside the head, and we'll fix it with some shower curtain rings, it'll be okay, because very often they were able to convince people it would be better tomorrow. And it wasn't going to get any better and we were going to lose our accreditation because it was that bad. And what we had heard about the report was it was so bad, they almost removed our accreditation. Now that might be hearsay, but it's worth sharing tonight because I'll be gone tomorrow. We can go on to the next one. That was the cafeteria. So it's big and kind of exciting and well lit for the most part. You know, kids had to stack their chairs and it just looked like a prison. It was just, you know, that's not what a town's educational system deserves. I think that's it, Mike. Is that the last slide? Oh, yeah. And so that was kind of what every single classroom looked like with its ceiling tiles. And it was just decaying and decrepit. And it was just unfortunate. And so, you know, Mrs. Teal and I really bonded in the beginning and over time had evolved into a relationship where all we talked about was education. And that might have been a bit fanatical. But sometimes fanatics can get things done. And we often said that this can't come in the way of our friendship. And much to our surprise, I think, it really hasn't. So, you know, I'm thrilled that the district has been able to, A, kind of address some of the gross negligence of its buildings and then make improvements over time. And that's through a committed effort. And it takes time and it takes patience and it takes people who really care. And I think that this, you know, the last few cycles of school committee have produced changes that show that we care. I think that the next phase of our activity was around changes in leadership, and there are a lot of new leadership faces that have been here a handful of years, and with the exception of Mr. Prignano, are new and have been, and this is inclusive of Mr. Prignano, excellent contributors to the direction of the district. We've been so much more data focused and engaging, and you know, initially you got the pat on the head and the, you know, the go, you can head home, we'll take care of it. But now it's so much more inclusive, and very often we had heard, you know, very negative things about the schools, and it was around, you know, the academic program was what kids and parents were certainly frustrated with. And then beyond that, you heard it'll never change, it's not going to get any better, the inmates are going to run the asylum or are running the asylum. And now you don't hear that. And what you hear is new people are moving in. What you hear when you knock door to door recently is, this is why I moved here, because of the school. And I moved here because of the school 24 years ago, and then to see it just face plant around the time my kids were getting ready to go was just incredibly discouraging. Many of our friends moved out of town. They just said it's just not worth the fight. But I think we felt it was. And I'm honored to have done that with you. It's been fun. Yeah, we've had a few wars. But I appreciate everyone's efforts in the district. It's been a humbling experience. It's been wonderful, Mr. Mitchell. I'm so happy you were able to step right into the role and keep things moving. You know, Mr. Adams, you have completely cleaned up our legal act. I am so appreciative of that, Mr. D'Amata. You know, I died and went to heaven when you became assistant superintendent, because you get the data and where we need to go with the district, and I am so excited for that. Mr. Martin, I'm glad you're here to kind of get us all on the same page with our communication. It has been a tremendous change, particularly serving as a chair when things get really tough and really rough. Knowing that you're there to help us with that message, I think has been, you know, very invaluable. Mrs. Fogel, you filed, paper-clipped, and got us completely where we needed to be with our HR program. I thank you so much for that, because we now have a program to which we can be proud, recommending people, ensuring that there's quality in our staffing program, and I greatly appreciate that you were committed to this town and wanted to remain a part of the program. That is such a good thing. Mr. Chandler, same goes for you. When you started, I think we had a stick of technology and maybe a laptop that would turn on a good day. And now what we have is a robust program that, that we can be proud of and that we're looked to for by other districts for what we've done and what we've been able to do in spite of a very small budget. And so thank you for sticking with us. And I can remember when you first came on, you wanted to take a chance with us because you were committed to the town, and that matters to both of you. That matters tremendously to me. And Mr. Prignano, thank you for keeping us out of the red, because we certainly could have skid or slid right into that. Now, we may not always agree with the approach to getting us there, but that's your job. And, you know, I think the district has been able to repurpose its resources without suffering too significantly. I think we still have a ways to go to address our funding issues, but, you know, that's for another committee and another day. To all the administrators that are here, I'm so glad that you've been, you know, open with us about sharing information, because very often there's a drawbridge and a wall that goes up, and you were willing when we put it down to actually walk across. I think that is what has helped us be a better school committee and a better program. It's probably better that I didn't write this down, because I could just go on and on all night, but I won't. Ms. Giacomoni, thank you very much for taking our minutes. When Mr. Pearson was here as a school committee member, I was kind of mean and I made him do them because we weren't going to pay anybody, but this has been wonderful and we rely on your minutes tremendously, and so thank you. And thank you to everyone. I think this has been a profound experience for me. I've been able to take some of the leadership things from work and apply them here, and take some of the things from here that I've learned about when the public speaks and means it, it's usually right. And I've been able to share that type of input at work. It matters, and we have to be willing to be good listeners throughout all of this experience, because it's really the kids that benefit when we kind of act like the adults that we're supposed to be. So thank you all. It's been a phenomenal experience. Oh, you didn't have to do that. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Madam Chair,
Oh.
if you don't mind. I just want to let everybody know that we have a little reception planned up in T319 in the room that we were just in for executive session. So
That's nice.
please, we hope that you all will join us upstairs for a few little snacks.
Very good. Mr. Salvatore, you have
Madam
something
Chair,
to add?
yes, Mr. DeMonica is the one that facilitated going forward with the apples, and also worked with Mr. Mitchell on a little buffet upstairs. So his planning that I'm appreciative of, and I'm sure everybody on the committee, to make sure that your last day,
Best day.
best day, yeah.
So thank you.
Don't let the door hit you. Oh no, I'm only kidding. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
I think the committee, you know, needs to understand how far you guys have come, and how I feel like, you know, it's in good hands. So don't mess it up. Otherwise, Mrs. Steele and I might be back at that microphone, and you wouldn't want that. But I think, you know the direction, and you guys are a wonderful committee. You're mature and responsible most of the time, and I appreciate the fact that it's student-focused. When it becomes about yourself, it's totally the wrong thing. When it becomes about the students, it's sometimes a hard decision or discussion to have, but I think, you know, you got to keep us rolling. So thank you for all your efforts. Mr. DeMonaga, I mean, this was generous and lovely, but I have to add, you have completely stepped into your role and are transparent and informative, and I greatly appreciate the leadership you've had on fiscal. It's been tremendous, and I'm so proud that I got a chance to work with you. It really was wonderful. Yeah, Mr. Salvatore, my moment.
And Madam Chair, I mean, you've got a good showing here in the audience of administrators. Mr. Duffy came all the way from Lakeville, where I see the most Trump signs I've ever seen in Massachusetts. And every time I drive through Lakeville, I think of Mr. Duffy and these Trump signs. I take a picture. So, I mean, you two have done great things together. So you should be proud to to reign in what you have done here and move forward and progress in this town. So, thank you.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all for everything. It's gratefully appreciate it. Mr. Fiorello, we have one more item.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Fiorello, second by Mrs. Teal. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And we are adjourned, and I don't have the time, but thank you all.
8:37.